this is Cyndi, and this month we are being inspired by Salvador Dali. And I hope that my lighting's not messed up. It may be, I think I'm gonna have to change my art room around for a little while because I still, we were hit by Hurricane Irma, and I still have a window that's boarded up. And I'm not going to push my husband to do anything about that because it was very dangerous. It's on the second floor on a slanted roof, and it was very dangerous boarding it up in the first place. So I don't care. It can stay boarded up, and I will just move my table somewhere. But I haven't done that yet. So we're going to struggle through this video, and hopefully you will be able to see it. But yes, Salvador Dali. He was born in 1904, died in 1989. He was a Taurus. He was Spanish. His standout work is The Persistence of Memory. He did that in 1931. He usually worked in oil. He was a surrealist. And you can see some of his art at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. And I plan to do that in December when I'm there. Let's see. One of his quotes: "Every morning upon wakening, I experience a supreme pleasure, that of being Salvador Dali. And I ask myself, wonderstruck, what prodigious thing will he do today, this Salvador Dali?" So, yeah, not really a humble person. But yeah, he was a surrealist, and he was really like the first performance artist. His whole sense of being was performance. He loved attention. He had that mustache, that long curly mustache, and he would always, you know, dress in velvet and gold brocade, and, you know, he liked to put on a little pizzazz wherever he went. But he started out with problems, as all the artists do. Before he was born, he had a brother that was born that was named Salvador after the father, but he only lived for 21 months. He died. And then 9 months and 8 days after that child died, Salvador Dali was born, and he was named Salvador too, but his parents always looked at him as, you know, second best. They always talked about the original, his brother, and he felt very slighted, and he tended to always, you know, act up. It says in here, you know, he refused to go to the bathroom. He would just, you know, poop anywhere he wanted to. He would do anything to get attention. And of course, negative attention is better than no attention at all. But I'll tell you a little bit more about him in a minute. The painting that I'm going to try is going to be something like his painting, The Enigma of Desire. And I showed a picture of that at the beginning of this video. And it looks like, you know, it's kind of set up like a landscape, but it's a big yellow shape. Now there are some really raggedy looking, scary looking people in it. I don't think I'm going to put those in mine because I don't know if I'd be able to do that, and certainly probably not. You know, I want to try to keep this down to an hour. But I'm just going to work with, you know, the similar colors and the shape and just the surreal look of the whole painting. I really like his work, and he was like he was really good at drawing. He could draw and paint very intricate things. And of course, most of this stuff was surreal. It was from his mind. He was very into Freud and friends with Freud. So these were not real things, but you know what I mean. They were beautifully drawn, very intricate. So let's see. I think I'm gonna do this on, this is 11 by 15. This is watercolor paper. I was going to use mixed media paper, but I don't have any of my really thick mixed media paper right now, so I'm going to do it on the watercolor paper. That'll be fine. And I'm going to sketch it on here, and then I'm going to use acrylic paints. I might use some pens. I'll probably throw in maybe some oil pastels at the end for shading, and I don't know. We'll see where we go with it. So let me get my stuff together, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to get started sketching this, and I sort of have it way over on one side because I'm trying to avoid shadows, because I'm getting all these weird shadows because of my lighting situation. Let's see. Let's get a little straight edge here and make a line. Will be the horizon line. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. I'll try to, can you see it? I can't see, I can't tell. But I'll try to sketch this. Try to keep it darker. Okay, you know, the more I look at this design, it's sort of freaking me out. I did not notice it at the beginning, but now I'm thinking, is this, it almost looks like a dead bird. And as we know, I love birds. I have chickens. I talk about them. Well, I only have one chicken. I had chickens, but now I only have one chicken. But I talk about her all the time on Facebook. I'm running into my little can't draw and talk at the same time thing again. Let's see, we'll go like that. See, this to me looks like the chicken beak here, or the bird beak. I'm really hoping that this is not a chicken. Of course, you know, it can be whatever. It's surreal. So mine is not going to be a bird. Mine's just a big, weird thing. This is gonna be kind of like the shadowy thing that comes down like that, and then there are some this is sort of like a rock, and these are big holes in the rock, and this makes it look more dimensional. As soon as I finish sketching this, I'll tell you a little bit more about Salvador Dali. Okay, thanks, Cyndi. Think. Okay, down here we have some sort of little round-ish thing. I don't know if that's a rock or what it is. In his painting, he has, I think, a person over here, but I'm not going to do that in mine. So let's just make all these other little round pieces in here. And I'm not doing these like his. I'm just putting them anywhere I want to. But as I mentioned before, he was really talented, and he was talented from birth. He went to art school when he was little, and he was kicked out of art school, which it seems like so many of them are. So many of the great artists are kicked out of art school. He was kicked out because he would not do his exam because he felt that there wasn't anyone there that was capable of grading his work. He felt that his work was way above most of the instructors there. And he could have been right. So he decided when he was young, you know, he wanted to move to Paris, of course, because that's where they all go, back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. So he went there, and he thought that he would be welcomed with open arms because there were other surrealists, but he was not. He made one friend while he was there, and I don't have the book in front of me, but I think his name was, I'll look it up, Edward something or other. And he was a poet. And Edward something or other was married to a woman whose name was Gala. And she was older than him. She was older than Dali, too. But she was a very powerful woman. She was really into money. She was really into sex. She really got around back then. This woman had a good time. Okay, let's see. Do we do that along this side too? Sure we do. And she did not like Dali at first, but then she saw his art and thought, whoa, we can make some money from this. So, do I even have my camera on? Yes, I do. Started worrying that I was rambling without even having my camera on. But anyway, so after she saw his art, she was intrigued and really liked him. And they stayed with Dali for a little while, but then they left. But then shortly thereafter, they came back, and Gala left her husband and became Salvador Dali's lover, and he was totally enthralled with her. He was crazy about her. She was older, but he really, really, really liked her. And they did end up getting married, and she pretty much controlled his career from that point forward. And she always encouraged him to do more commercial type things because she liked that lifestyle, even though for a while, you know, they lived as paupers. She did figure out a way to make it all work, and she really encouraged that. And everybody said it was a really weird relationship because, as I mentioned before, she was like really, she was wild. She was very sexual. She liked to get around. Salvador Dali, on the other hand, did not like to be touched. So that created, you know, a little weirdness in their relationship. And I guess he was more like a voyeur. And that worked for them. You know, to each his own. Whatever. Okay, I'm going to grab some paint and start putting some color in. You know, I'll probably end up, you know, painting over these circles, but at least I have an idea right now of what I'm doing, of, you know, where it's going to be on the paper, and a little composition, and I'll be right back. Okay, I put out some paint here. You know, I really should have, before I drew all this, I don't know how my mind's working. It's taking me a while to get back into art, we had the Hurricane Irma, and prior to that, my computer was broken, and I couldn't, and my phone was broken, and I couldn't video anything. So it's been quite a while, actually, since I really tried to do anything, and I'm just not thinking. But I should have laid down some sky and sort of the desert sand, and then sketched over it. But that's okay. I'm going to work with this. I'm just going to keep going. And I think I'll put, you know, start out with kind of a wash up here for the sky. And this graphite's probably going to bleed into the paint, but we'll fix that later. Okay, let's see. I'm going to mix up a little light blue here, and I'm just going to start, I don't know, I'll just start going for it. But back to Dali. So in 1931, he did a show with his one of his most famous paintings, The Persistence of Memory, I think it's called. I don't have the book right in front of me, but The Persistence of Memory. And after that, he became a lot more popular. People loved him, and all the socialites, high society of Paris were really, what am I doing? Really into him. And he started making some money. And, you know, he was doing all the surreal stuff. He was, you know, melting watches and things like that. But then he took a little heat for a while because he was, he talked a lot about Hitler. This was right before World War II started, but he was talking a lot about Hitler. He said that Hitler was the epitome of a surrealist. And a lot of people didn't like that. And I guess he had, you know, different kinds of political beliefs. But when World War II rolled around, they got out of there. They moved to the United States. They got a place in New York. They got a place in Miami. And started making a lot of Hollywood-type friends. He actually, you know, did some scenes for Alfred Hitchcock and actually a little movie for Disney, which they didn't end up using at the time, but from what I understand, it they did bring it out years later, I guess as a short or something, but I think that you're able to see it on YouTube. Not positive about that, but I think I read that. But so they're, you know, they're living the life in New York, between New York and Miami, and he decides he wants to start doing more spiritual type art. He was doing a lot of portraits of Gala and much more realistic portraits than he had been doing before. And I need to darken up the sky at the top. And then he wanted to do, you know, paint like Last Supper scenes and things like that, which didn't go over well with Gala, because she's like, why do that when, you know, what you were doing was making so much money? You know, stick with the surreal stuff, keep doing those melting watches and things of that sort, because that's, you know, that's really happening for us right now. But he did get into that for a while, but, you know, then got back into his surrealist thing. So he's had different stages in his life. Okay, think about this a little bit. And of course, this is where I screwed up because I need some sky in here too. I was just going to paint over the whole thing, but with blue, you know, just like a wash, but I think I'm just going to do it this way. I'll do it like I'm coloring. Let's see how it works out. There we go. There we go. Let's see. Dali. You know, one of the strangest things, I've been to the Dali Museum. I believe it's in Sarasota. Years ago, like when I first met my husband, we took a trip down there and just spur of the moment went into the Dali Museum, and I wasn't at all familiar with them at that time. But, you know, it was a trip, and I guess it's you know, it's a popular attraction down there. The people that started it were just avid Dali collectors. They had a lot of art, and they started it a long time ago. I mean, this was, when I was there, it had to have been probably like 26, 27 years ago, something like that. Anyway, but I can't wait to see his paintings in New York, as well as other artists. But I was getting ready to say the weird thing, and I never realized this, but eventually his wife died. You know, she was older than he was, and I think she had had a lot of plastic surgery, and so I guess she experienced, you know, bad side effects from plastic surgery. Plus, she was just older. So she passed away, and he went into a deep, deep depression over it, because he was, you know, he was very dependent upon her. He was, you know, as I mentioned earlier, he was just crazy about her. Okay, that's way too yellow. But he would stay in bed a lot, and he had a some sort of bell, like electric type bell by his bed. And I guess one night he was, you know, ringing it like crazy, and it sparked and created a fire, and he suffered terrible, severe burns. He was in the hospital for quite a while. They didn't think that he was going to make it, but he did. He lived, I think, another 3 years after that, but, you know, not well. You know, he was basically bedridden. I think he did, what am I doing? I don't need to go around that. That's stupid. I think one last TV interview. And it slips my mind. It's slipping my mind right now who that was with. But like, you know, I don't know, Merv Griffin or someone. But then he passed away. And of course his art has continued to become more and more popular and very commercial. I mean, if you go into, you know, the sites where you can order art or posters or coffee cups, things like that, tremendous amount of his art, and especially, you know, the melting clock one. And you know, now that I'm thinking of it, I don't recall that it said that they had children. I don't think they did have children. I'm gonna have to check that again, but I don't think they did have children, and I don't know who their estate was left to. You know, maybe a foundation or something. I don't know about that. I have to look into it. He was like super into, he was friends with Sigmund Freud and was really into, you know, the teachings, the philosophy of Sigmund Freud. And that, they say that that inspired his art. There's a part in the book where it says, you know, in the 30s, his followers were the Parisian socialites and social, easy for me to say, social elite. But then in the 60s, it was quote-unquote hippies and people into LSD. That's how they worded it. They said people into marijuana and LSD. I guess because of the, you know, trippy nature of his paintings. And I don't know if he was big into drugs or not. That's another thing that they probably mentioned, and I've just, I can't remember right now. Okay, I've sort of gotten some backgroundy color in there. I'm gonna go over and put in the little bit brighter yellow for my not a dead bird, because this is not a dead bird, right? Right. You know, there's something, I noticed in the painting, of course, I'm looking at it on the computer, but there's something inside these little holes, and I don't know if they're words or not, but I'm thinking about putting words in mine. It just looks like it would be cool to put words in those little holes. So were any of you guys affected by the hurricane? Either one of them? Well, all three of them now. You know, now Maria has devastated the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and those areas in the Atlantic. You know, we were out of electricity for 7 days, which, you know, is very unpleasant. The first couple days were okay because we still had a breeze from the hurricane. But then it just got really, really humid. I mean, it's humid where I live anyway. I always say it's the most humid place on earth. I'm sure that it's not. But I believe that North Florida is horrible as far as the weather. Anyway, so it was really humid and miserable, and we're always the last people to get our electric turned on because we live out in the country. And they, of course, try to turn on the maximum number of people as they're fixing the grid, so we're always last. But this time, you know, we were out, like I said, 7 days. Last hurricane, we were out 11 days. So, you know, that wasn't as bad. And we had a tree, well, we had lots of trees fall and not fall on anything, so that, you know, was okay. But we had this one stupid tree that decided to come halfway out of the ground, and it was about a 100-foot tree, pine tree. And then it just hung there precariously in the air. Half of its roots were out of the ground, and it was just there at a 45-degree angle. And it was questionable, depending upon the way it fell, whether it would hit our house or not. Now, it definitely would have taken out our grapevine room and our screened porch. But depending upon how it fell, it could have also taken out the corner of our house, which is our laundry room, which was, and still is, leaking like crazy because a roof leak started because of the heavy wind and rain. So we got water in there, and I'm still waiting for an adjuster to get here to do a claim. Now, our deductible is over $4,000, so you know, we're still gonna have to put out a ton of money, but we don't want to do anything with it until the adjuster sees it. So it's literally, I mean, it's mildewing up the walls, the ceiling's all mildewed. If he doesn't get here soon, I don't know what we're going to do, because the ceiling is going to cave in. But anyway, back to the tree. So the tree is hanging there precariously, and it was really unsafe because you couldn't walk in that area, because anytime the wind blew, the tree's going back and forth, and it was being held up by two small branches on an adjacent tree. And it could have dropped on somebody. So I had to call somebody to come out and do that. I could not wait for the insurance company, or, you know, they say that FEMA will come out and help you with those things, but I did a FEMA application, and it's been a week ago, and nobody's contacted me. But anyway, we had to do something, so we had somebody come out and put it safely on the ground, and I videoed the whole thing so that I can show the insurance company. I don't know if they'll try not to cover it now or not, because, you know, because we took it down. But if we hadn't taken it down and it fell on the house, then it just would have been, you know, a larger claim for them. So you would think, I hope, that they're happy that, you know, Okay, now I'm going to, I think the next thing I'm going to do is try to put in some shadows. As you can see, this is all really rough, but I'll clean it up. Let's see if I can mix up a color here for these shadows. Let's see what this looks like. This is raw umber with a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of black. This brush is terrible. I need to take a class on how to use a paintbrush. I see a lot of people using the biggest brushes, and they're so precise. And in fact, my husband is one of those people. He was a painting contractor for years and years, and he could use this gigantic brush and cut the tiniest lines. I mean, it was amazing. And even people, other painters, always commented on how, you know, he would always use a gigantic brush to cut in in the smallest places. I'm going to have to put a few layers on this. I didn't have any, or I couldn't find, of course, my regular raw umber paint. So I'm using a craft paint, which is kind of thin. But it'll work for now. So I just thought of another Salvador Dali story. During World War II, he was living in the United States, but he contacted his publicist and decided to do a big gala in Europe to benefit European artists who were, struggling during the war. And he gave his publicist a list of things that he would need. And actually, where's that book? I'll read them to you. Let's see. This is what he wanted for the party. 2,000 pine trees, 4,000 gunny sacks, the largest bed in Hollywood, a wrecked automobile, several nude store mannequins, a dozen or so wild animals, including a baby tiger and a giraffe, and 1,200 shoes in which to serve the first course. So they achieved this, and a lot of guests came from the United States: Alfred Hitchcock, Bob Hope, the Vanderbilts, Bing Crosby, Ginger Rogers, and Clark Gable. But at the end of the event, so much money had been spent, the publicist was left holding the bag, and no money was left for the benefit of the artists, the European artists. So I'm sure it was, everybody had a wonderful time, but it didn't, really benefit anyone except the partygoers. Okay. Can't talk while I'm in these tight situations here. These tight corners. Could switch to a different brush. Of course, that would just be way too easy, wouldn't it? Okay, let's try this brush. Way too much water on it. Let's see what this does. Oh my goodness, this is so much better. So much better. I just completed a project last night. I'm uploading it now, and it will be live on the 25th. And it's for Canvas Core Brands and Gypsy Soul Laser Cuts. And I did, it's a fairly easy project. However, it was a struggle for me because I don't usually use a lot of ephemera type things in my art. I mean, I do use paper. I use a lot of different, paper, collage. But Canvas Core Brands has these new things. Well, they've been out a few months, called architectures, and they're sort of like these plasticky, rubbery type things, and they come in different shapes, and different things, hot air balloons and eyeglasses and all kinds of things. But a couple months ago, I found the ones that are sort of like backgrounds. And they're so cool because you can rip them or you can cut them. And I think I'm on my third pack of them so far. I've gone back and bought more a few times because you really can do a lot of different things with them. So they were having, wow, I need an even smaller brush now. They were having a matchup with Gypsy Soul Laser Cuts, which is, let's see if I can find a pointy brush. When you use two different, products from two different companies together. So I wanted to do that, and I did. And my project, it turned out okay. Like I said, it's a simple project, but it was interesting, using the little chipboard designs from Gypsy Laser Cuts. I used like some little berries and a word and painted it, and that was kind of fun and cool. But I finished that last night, and I made another project that I need to upload. And I have an art journal page that I finished and was going to upload, but then right then they started talking about the hurricane. And in this particular art journal page, I was kind of ranting about some things that in the big scheme of things are not that important. So I decided this would be a really stupid time to make a big deal out of something like that. So I'm going to hold off on, it wasn't like a mean rant or anything, but it was just, people are suffering, and my little problem is not that big a deal right now. They say that in Puerto Rico, you might not have electricity there for 6 months or longer. I mean, I dealt with it for 7 days. And it was miserable. I can't even imagine. And especially if you have children or you're elderly or just, or sick, or have to have electricity for different devices that you need to stay alive. I mean, I can't even imagine being in that type of situation. It's horrible, and I hate to say it, but I don't think this weather situation is going to get any better. I do believe, everybody says, oh, weather comes and goes and blah, blah, blah. And that is very true. But the storms, and whether it be hurricanes or the snowstorms that other people are getting, everything seems to be stronger than it's been for a very long time. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but you know, that's just what I see. I mean, I observe things are different. I mean, look at the sky. It doesn't look like it used to look. As a kid, I can remember way back when I was a kid, I can remember swinging on my swing set, and you know, we'd always look up at the sky, and like all kids do, and you know, look for shapes in the clouds and things. You really can't even do that anymore. There aren't any shapes in these clouds. They're just lines. Every morning the sky's blue, and I don't know how it is in your area, but this is how it is in Florida. Sky's blue, and the sky fills with lines which spread across the entire sky as far as you can see and turn into just a haze, almost like a silvery greenish haze. And that's what, you know, people have come to accept is how the sky should look. And no, that's not, you know, it doesn't look like this anymore. It's just a big green, you know, and I live in a college town. I live in a college town that, you know, is very against any kind of industry or anything. So we don't have big factories around here creating what used to be called smog. We don't have that. Don't have any big airports nearby. So, you know, everybody has their own idea about what's causing this phenomenon with the sky, but it certainly doesn't look like it used to look. And the funny thing is that when you're watching movies, they actually use those lines in the sky to almost like to create interesting composition. I mean, you know, that's not normal to have those crisscross lines all over the sky. But they do look kind of cool. And so you'll see them use it in movies, in TV commercials, billboards, because, you know, it looks interesting artistically. And I have I've taken a lot of pictures of them over the years, and I've blown some up. And they make very cool looking art, but it's kind of sick. I mean, it's really sick to think that, you know, whatever that is happening up there, we are breathing that. You know, my husband has allergies really bad, my sister, my mother, and you have to imagine, I mean, my sister-in-law and her son are both on, you know, those puffers and oxygen machines at night, or not oxygen machines, I don't know what they are, but some kind of little machine that makes it easier to breathe at night. But that's just weird. That's a weird thing, because people didn't used to have so much of a problem breathing. I remember back in the, when was it, in the 60s, 70s, you'd always hear about smog. The smog in LA. And how you can't see the Hollywood sign anymore. And this and that. Well, evidently, they were able to fix that problem. because it's not like it was, and you don't hear about smog like that anymore. I need to Google that, find out what exactly. I mean, I would think that it's probably that they implemented some regulations and cleaned up the air, but I don't know. Okay, now let's try this brush. No, I'm gonna need a bigger one than this. Okay, let's use this one. I need to make, the inside of these are yellow, and these are a little bit darker yellow, so I'm gonna mix a little yellow with a little some kind of brownish color that Golden sent to me about a year ago. They sent me a bunch of paint. And evidently there are times when they have paint that's not paint that they can sell because it's you know, not perfect. The label was messed up or something, you know, and they say the paint is fine, it's just, you know, there was something happened with the packaging or labeling or whatever, so they can't sell it because of course they want everything to be perfect. So they will give it to people. No, I don't know if they still do this, but at that time they will give it to people or sell it at a very reduced price. I was very fortunate. When I contacted them, they had a ton of glossy gel medium. They sent me a couple gallons, and some magenta, and this brownish color, which I think is maybe burnt sienna, and some kind of teal color. It's not the teal color that everybody loves. You know, the, oh shoot, wrong color. It's not the real popular teal color, but it's a really nice color. It's just darker. But yeah, I was very lucky to get a bunch of paint from them. Okay. So yeah, I'm just darkening this up in some places. Now, Salvador Dali used oil paint. So he had lots of time to mix and play. Oil paint takes forever to dry. Okay, back to the small brush. Let's see, mix up a little more color here. One of these days I'm going to try to do an oil painting. I've used the oil paint sticks. And in fact, just recently sold that that little painting. Oh, speaking of that, you know, I'm selling my Creative Heart Monday artwork. I have a page on my blog with the stuff that's left. And I have this nice woman. She ordered 9 pieces from me. I mean, the prices are very reasonable. She ordered 9 pieces before the hurricane. A couple weeks before the hurricane. And she received them. And then, while I'm going through the hurricane, just everything's going wrong. My phone breaks. No electricity. The tree's hanging there by a thread. I had to go get my new phone. I turn on my new phone, and there's another order from her for 6 more pieces. I was so happy. I was jumping up and down. I'm thinking, something good. Something good. And I forgot to tell you guys, I also got bit by a scorpion, or stung by a scorpion. So it was just, one thing after another. But then this very nice woman evidently liked my other artwork that she already ordered, so she ordered some more. So I was happy. But what made me think of that? Oh yeah, because I was talking about the oil painting. Okay. Alright, I'm getting down to the end of this part because this part down at the bottom is like I'm going to have to look at the picture again. Take a little break, look at the picture, check my video, my other video that's uploading. See if I can read some more fun facts about Salvador Dali. Obviously, I'm going to have to put some more coats on here to try to hide these pencil lines right there in the horizon. I should have erased them, but like I said, it's just taking me a while to get back into knowing what I'm doing. It's like all of a sudden, I can't figure out anything. It's crazy. The only thing I did during the storm is I did draw a couple faces, but other than that, nothing artistic. I think I also drew a picture of my tree hanging. Should probably do an art journal page about my tree fiasco. I hope that the insurance company will help us out with the tree in the laundry room. I mean, I feel like, the laundry room's, a real disaster area. I know it's got to be more than the deductible. Of course, we'll have to pay for the deductible, but, if it's more than that, I hope they approve it. We've never, I think my husband did a claim years ago. Probably 40 years ago, maybe before we were married, but I've never, we've just never had a claim. Or we've had things happen, but they've always been small things, and we haven't bothered, getting the insurance company involved. And of course now, oh my gosh, just to call them, it's a major ordeal because it takes forever to get through. When I was calling FEMA, They said the whole time is 291 minutes. I'm thinking, wait a minute, 291? That's almost 5 hours. That was crazy. And then they kept saying that my application is pending because my property is inaccessible. And no, you can drive right up anytime you want. I mean, it's not, I don't know where they got that it's inaccessible. And the lady on the phone says, well, they must be seeing from the air that, you know, it's inaccessible, but that would be impossible. I mean, the road is clear. In fact, we were shocked that the road was clear because usually, what's this? Usually our property does flood when we get just even a heavy rain. So that's why we left this time. We evacuated, stayed at a friend's house because I just was not going to be stuck here. We were stuck last time. We couldn't even drive out. We didn't have electricity for 11 days, but we couldn't drive out of the property for about 8 days. So I wasn't going to get stuck in here again. But then when we came back the next day to, you know, to try to see what happened, we were shocked. We were able to get down the road. Now, there was a tree that had fallen, but other people that lived on the road, our neighbors across the street, had already gone out there and cut it so that people could pass. So there's no way that looked from the air like, you know, you couldn't get through. I mean, you definitely could get through, and you could get through, you know, the day after the hurricane. It was fine. I don't know why it didn't flood this time, but that was certainly nice because we were able to, you know, we stayed here after that without electricity, you know, because we just don't want to be a burden to people. Either that or we just like, you know, doing things our own way, and even if we don't have electricity, you know, that's just, it's better, I guess. Plus, my husband's a fanatic, and he had to get out there immediately, and start cleaning up all those trees and the mess in the yard. I mean, that's like the first thing he did. He's out there sawing up branches and just getting rid of the little branches and limbs that had fallen everywhere. All right, I'm going to take a little break at this point and give this some more thought. You know, I said I was going to do that about 15 minutes ago. Let me think about where I'm going to go from here, and I'll be back. Okay. Excuse me. I'm just going to go around here and clean up some of these edges with a pencil so I can sort of see what I'm doing here. This is a Prismacolor pencil. Let's see. If I were better with a brush, I could just do this with a brush. But I'm not. I need to go to brush school. you know, I'm actually not as disappointed with this as I thought I would be. Although, I'm not finished yet, so I've got time to ruin it. I've got time. You know, this reminds me of a class that Jody All has on Artist Network TV. You can either buy the classes on there individually, or you can subscribe on a monthly basis, and then you have access to, you know, thousands of classes. But she has one on there called Zen painting, and she actually paints things that are similar to this. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but I want to try to finish it because it's really good. And actually, because I had watched a little bit of it before the hurricane, I did do a few little drawings from things that, inspired by things that I had seen her do in the class. Zen painting. And it's not like, you know, Zen doodling or Zen tangling. Although she does use pencils and pens, but she also uses paint. You know, I've taken several of her classes, and I'm never disappointed. I really like her art. She seems like a really nice person. I think she has a book or two out too. I also have to catch up on my Christy Sobolewski. Now she lives in Florida too, so I don't know how affected she was by the hurricane because I haven't. I take her Obsessions class, which I think she's changed the name of that to Passions, but I haven't been able to check in because I've just been trying to catch up on things, and of course I was out of electricity for a while. So I need to check in and see what I've been missing there, and hopefully, I'm not sure where she lives in Florida, but hopefully she didn't sustain a lot of damage. I think she lives maybe further south, but I'm not sure. Okay, let me speed up through the rest of this because I'm sure I'm really boring you. Okay, there's some kind of, oops, good, some kind of swirly thing down here. Sort of goes like this and goes like that. Like that. Like this and like this. This is a Faber-Castell Aquarelle pencil. Like this. Something like this. And over here, the more I look at it, the more it does look like a bird. And it almost looks like there are feathers here and stuff, but I'm not going to, this is not going to be a bird head. I'm going to do something different with it there. But I do need to get this, do something to try to hide this line in here. And I don't know if anything's going to hide it. Except, you know, if I went over it with gesso. Let's just put a few coats and try to fix it. Let's see what we can do. That was really not smart of me not to erase that. But it's just art. Just art. I'll tell you what, when you look at Salvador Dali's paintings close up, he really has a lot of intricacy in there. Like this particular painting, you know, like I said, he does some kind of something in here and some kind of rickety person over here. And it is very, very detailed. And I am not that detailed, and especially not with a brush. You know, maybe if I spend a really long time and with pencils or pens. But we're not going to go crazy with this because I think this video is getting way too long already. Let's see. Lighten this up over here. Oh. That's right. There's this shadowy part too that I need to do. Okay. I'm going to shadow this a little bit since this is that water-soluble pencil. And actually this over here too is sort of grayish. So I'll make it sort of grayish. Going like that. I should be using water probably and not this paint, but that's okay. Yeah, let's get a little water. You know, I always get into this mumbly part of my videos. Usually at the end when I'm doing more finishing things, and I find myself just mumbling away. Okay, now let's see. There's like a shadow over here, and I don't know what that shadow really is, but let's see. Let's use some raw umber, some white, maybe a tiny dab of black to give it a little more of a gray look. Too much black. Is it too much black? I don't know. Okay, let's just do this. It's just over here. Huh, I just painted over my little egg. I forgot about that. Okay, let's do this. And let's make it more washy. Why on earth am I using that tiny little brush? What am I, nuts? It's just crazy. Okay, so the shadow goes like this, and then just goes like this. That's all it does, and who knows what it's a shadow of, but it's a shadow of, maybe it's squared off. I don't know, I don't have the picture in front of me, but it's sort of like that. And then I'll put my little egg or whatever that is back over it. Then there's also shadow over here from the head of the not a bird. So shadow like that, which really doesn't look that good, does it? Woo! Oh yeah, I messed this up big time. Okay, shadow. And where else do we have some shadows? Let's see. Okay, I just looked at my picture again, and the shadow goes more like this. And it is darker, much darker. So let's darken it up a little bit. Like that. And then smaller brush, and we have some little dark shadows under here. Because this is casting a shadow on the ground from there to there. Like that. Casting a shadow there and casting shadow here. Okay. Okay, and where else? We've got that. Now this is actually a much darker shadow here. That. Okay, I think I'm going to use my, oh wow, let me try to fix this yellow some more. Is this dry? Yeah, let me try it a little bit more, try to get rid of that line. It's really bugging me. That's not going away. It's just not going away. That's just not gonna go away. Yeah, that's a little bit better, right? I don't know if you can even see it. Okay, that's better, but I've got a line right there now. I need a light yellow. Light yellow. Okay. Too light. Let's see. That helped a little bit. All right, I'm going to stop obsessing over those lines, and I'm going to make a bunch of little black dots that are not in Salvador Dali's painting, but they are in Cyndi Caesar's painting. Why not go crazy with them? I love doing dots. I know I say it all the time, but this fine line bottle is like my favorite thing. All right. There we go. I'm going to darken this around the area that's not the chicken's head or the bird's head. And then that's going to be it. That's going to be it for my inspired by Salvador Dali painting. Oh my God. I thought I'd put my hand in all his dots. Oh, that would have been terrible. That would have been awful. Let me just do a little tiny bit of shading because I can't help myself. Whenever I use the colored pencils, I just can't leave a line. All right, there we go. There's my Salvador Dali. And next month we're doing, hang on, I'll go see who we're doing next month. We are doing, ooh, interesting. Really different. Georgia O'Keeffe. That's who we're doing next month. That'll be, yeah, different. I know she does flowers that some people say look like genitals. Anyway, we'll see what I can do with it. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that all of you are safe from the, move this over, all the bad weather that we've been having. And peace.